Well, good morning. Yesterday we had done some work on this thing. This is going to end up being a lot of videos on this particular piece, but a lot of people, quite a number of people, have quite a few questions. So, where am I doing? I just lost what I was. Oh, here it is. Horizontal. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to make note of what I'm doing. And today people wanted to see how I do these branches or vines that I don't do in glass. Now here's one in glass. That's in glass. And if they're a little bit smaller, head across this way, then I'll do them with this, and then I texture that solder, and people are interested in that, so we'll tell you how we do that and show it to you. It's not very difficult. Where we are here is that I'm getting ready to put in this horizontal bar, and I made sure that I stripped off an entire piece of glass that'll ultimately be the horizontal bar going all the way across this thing. And the reason that I'm insistent that it stay the same, because the color grain of this glass, I hope you can see this, that dark area there, the light area there, that extends over to here. So what would happen is that there'll be a bar, the horizontal or vertical piece of zinc will come up through here. This will go in there, and then another piece of zinc will go up through there. So this color grain will extend and continue on over to the end of the panel. It began right here. This piece of glass right here was actually cut from this same sheet. So if you were to hold this thing up into the light and look at it, that color grain would run all the way across that thing rather than be interrupted. And that's actually kind of important, because if you look, see the end of that thing is real bright, the other end dark. So it's I think fundamental to the overall look of the piece of finished work that those run right across in line with each other. So that's why I have this marked to tell me the direction I want to go. I'm on the south side of this table. That's the north side, so that's how I mark things. And this is horizontal center. That's this one. Okay, so let's just set that over on the side. So I've cut this out, and then right here is where we're going to put, and we won't be doing this part, but I'll show you how to do this part, right up through there. And so that'll be done when I get all the rest of this glass in. So I made a cut of this glass. First I put this piece here in, and I just locked it down because I've got to be real careful here to get this distance across here the same as this distance. So the glass is cut real close, but you may need to alter just a little bit of it, like grind it down to get the width you're looking for, and I'll show you how I've done that. First I laid this out, made this cut right here, and because I want that extension of color to be exact, I took this piece out. So I cut this piece, and then I'm going to have the vine. And don't worry, I've gone off the cartoon under there, but that doesn't matter. I changed the shape of the cartoon under there. Okay, and I cut this piece out so that this would be an exact extension from here across to there. That part being left out because there's a vine going across it. And that vine is crossing this particular piece of trellis rather than go like this. This section here is going under the trellis to come up this other side. So we'll foil this in just a second. And this is a piece of the masking tape that I had to tell me where I was. This is the south side. So the next thing that I needed to do was make sure I had this distance cut right. And I'm just off of the cartoon, just a hair. And I think I want to come up just a little bit more. Right about right there. Okay, and then that I marked this. So I just took this piece of zinc and it'll tell me where to cut this mark. So why don't we cut this mark and see, we show you a whole bunch of things here at one time, because there's all kinds of questions about saws and this and that. Oh, before we do that, how did I decide that I had this distance here right? Well, now I'm over the cartoon on this one just a hair, which is, you know, the cartoon is going to be the guide, but not the ultimate guide. So what I'm looking for here is I want the width of this bar, trellis bar, to be the same as this, because this is where we started, and we're going to reference everything off of there. And then everything going this direction will reference right off of here. So I looked, and it's 30 millimeters across here. 30 millimeters. So that means I want 30 millimeters here. So I measured there. There's 30 millimeters. And there's 30 millimeters. So this piece of glass is exactly the same width as this piece of glass, which means that these are going to be, you know, look exactly alike as we go on up. Allie wants to be petted. She doesn't do that very often, but she'll come over to be petted. Okay, Allie. Allie's getting on up in years. Allie's about 13, but she every now and then she'll break loose, get up, and come over for petting. Isn't that right? Okay, now the next thing you want to see is certainly the 30 millimeters is important, but you could actually alter that a half a millimeter one way or the other. Nobody would ever see that because you got to get lined up with this piece here. So I think this is actually a little bit more important than being exactly 30. 29 and a half, 30 and a half, something like that is just not going to be visible. But you certainly need to be lined up with this, and like this is lined up with this. So we've got that done, so let's go ahead and cut this, because we're going to solder this across here. We've got a couple of things to do. So let's cut this out, or take it out. Now this is now movable because we don't have it fastened down. And this little saw, this is a real old saw, and it's made by a company called Jarmac. I don't think there's a name on this thing anywhere, but I know it's a Jarmac, and it uses Jarmac blades, and I think they've come up with some later models in this thing. This certainly leaves something to be desired here. It's kind of a cobbed up platform that, I don't know, it was built in China maybe when they weren't quite as advanced as they are now, and it's just kind of thrown together. I've got shims in it to try to get it, this platform, right. But I've been doing so much work on this thing over the years, I pretty much know where the blade is, but the blade's a little bit crooked in that slot, so I could shim this thing up and get it perfectly straight. But that doesn't matter because I'm just really eyeballing this mark here. So I always put some face shield on because you don't want to get thrown anything out here in your eyes. That's all there is to that. Okay, there we go. Jarmac saw. And those crazy blades on that thing are about 12 bucks a piece, and they don't last that long, but you got to do what you have to do, right? Okay, what I'm going to do this time, something to take into consideration here, is that, as I mentioned in numerous videos, this zinc, which is what I'm putting in this particular panel to make it stronger, is made from a single flat piece, and they run it through a machine that forms it into this shape. And I hope you can see this, but there's a line, and that's where the two sides of the zinc come together. That line is in the middle of this side of the zinc groove right here, and then of course the zinc is formed all the way around. Now this side is also, where's a piece of glass? Something that's not too big. Oh yeah, well, we'll just take this thing right here. See that piece I cut out of here? It fits just perfectly in there because this is the width, 3 millimeter or 1/8 inch glass, and that's what this stuff is designed for. Well, this glass is thicker, So you have to facet it or bevel it down. I did that in a video yesterday. So what I want to do here is, because this is all narrow glass, 1/8 inch, 3mm glass, I want to pay attention to which side of this thing I'm going to use, because I want to put this open side, or wider opening side, on the side that I'm going to need to put this fractured streamer glass, because it's thicker. Now, certainly it would fit like this, or rather, I'm sorry, would fit with this split side on this side, but I'm kind of wasting the ability to open this up. I can actually open this side up. I cannot open this side. So I'll take the side that I can't open and put it here, because that's the side that fits this thing without any trouble. So the only thing left here to do now is let's put some foil on here, and we're not using the 1/4 inch foil on this. We're using the 7/32 foil, because we don't need the 1/4. So let's put the foil on, and this is going to be the cavity that's going to be filled with solder. All right, and we'll just burnish that down a little bit on both sides. Okay, there's that. Goes in here like this. Now we really need to pay attention to get this locked down in the right place. You know, wasn't hard to figure that out, and I'm going to check again. Aha! See, I say check again and make sure I have the split side on this side, and of course I didn't. So, boy, this is all about paying attention to what you're doing here, because you will pay later on. Now, you would also, you know, bevel down or facet this stuff right here, but it goes a lot easier if it's the split side. So now what we want to do is come up here and get this distance right here just right, because we're going to want to come down this whole length of this finished work with one piece of zinc. So I like where I am right there. Let's fasten this down. And I don't want it moving. In fact, that's not tight enough. Now, we're not going to solder here anyway, so that really doesn't make that much difference. But down here is where the rubber meets the road. I want that nice and tight. And I'm looking for, you know, I can't get perfection, but see, that's out a little bit right there because you don't have this side pushed in. See that? Okay. So let's take that nail. Okay. That's straight right there. Okay, now the next question is, since we've been banging and beating on this thing, is this distance here okay? So let's go back up. You know, it wouldn't hurt if we came in just a hair. Okay. Okay, this is good. We have not soldered this one in yet, so it looks like we're about ready to solder here. So the next thing I want to do, we're going to fill this cavity here with lead, and that's what, or solder, that's what everybody wants to see. So I'm going to take a piece of copper wire. This is just 14 gauge copper wire is all it is. And all I've done is buy some electrical wire and strip the insulation off of it. And we're going to cut it about right there and bend this back. Just using grazing pliers, you can use anything you want. Let me get a little tool, see if we can get this in here without a lot of grief. So there, I'm just filling that cavity up a little bit. we could cut, let's put another one in there. If this doesn't fit, we'll bend it a little bit. See, this is not an exact science here. You just putting some filler material in here. Okay, there you go. Now, shoot, here's a piece. I'll just drop this in there. All right, now let's get some flux. I'm just using a gel flux. This has been in this pan here for days. It's just turned to gel, and we're not going to need a lot, but we'll put some down in there so the solder sticks to all that. Let's put some here and here. We're ready to lock this stuff in. Okay? Now the next thing. 60-40, that's what I use. I don't use 50-50 for anything. I want the strength that 60-40 has. So let's go up here and get this done first. Okay, now we're going to just drop some solder in that hole. And I don't want to get crazy with it because it's going to run underneath there, because this glass is all elevated above the cartoon. Somebody yesterday was saying, you realize, of course, like 49 years, I realize it, okay, that you're soldering on top of your cartoon. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. I don't know what the problem was with that, but, certainly there's going to be a few burn marks and stuff like that. I don't really worry about it. You know what I want to do? I didn't get any flux right there. Okay. We'll come over here and get this while we've got good control of the heat on this iron. Yes. Okay, we're building this up a little bit. Let's get a little high spot here. See how that vine is coming, or branch is coming out of this group of pieces here. All right, so let's just drop some solder across here. And you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to turn this iron up wide open. Okay, you can control the temp on this iron, and we're going to get it hot. So now it's trying to heat up even more. And I'm just trying to kind of lay this solder into the hole here and not get too wild with it. Just fill it up. So we're going to build a bead up, so it doesn't matter if this, so much what we have right here. Come back over here. So I'm letting that harden so it doesn't go out from under here and run all these different directions. If you get it too hot, then it'll run out from under all this. Which, of course, when you turn this window over, you can fix, but what's the point of it if you don't have to have it? See how I'm just laying the solder in? Just melting this. Oh, I'm not sure you can see that. Let me go back here. There you go. Now we're starting to build the bead a little bit. And you know what I'm just now thinking about? We want to stop, and I'll tell you why. Let it cool down. We don't want to heat this glass up here too much and break it. And that'll be the next thing to happen. If you don't bail out of here and let this thing cool down a little bit, you're just building this huge mass of heat right here. Bear in mind, this thing is hot. And so it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and then you're going to hear a little, and it's a unmistakable little clink, like a little tink, and you'll break, the glass will crack right across here or right across there. Now that's going to be a hassle to get to in this thing. This one broken is going to be no fun whatsoever to get to. This one wouldn't be too hard because we would loosen up the solder across here as best we could and try to slide that piece of glass out of there, come back in with another one. But man, that would cost me, I'd probably take me a half hour, 40 minutes to fix that mess. So just settle down, slow down. And we've got a pretty good buildup now. And what heat is going to be generated in there is generated down inside that mass of copper and solder. And the only thing happening right now is it's cooling down. We've already got a kind of a buildup here. Plus we've let the iron get hotter, which will mean this will go a little quicker. So let's clean the iron just a little. And I think we're probably in a pretty good spot. And we'll come down here and use this as what we call a heat sink. We'll get some of the heat right out. Okay, there's a pretty good buildup right there, right there. And you don't have to worry about this being real pretty because you're going to texture it. Man, I do not want to hear that tink. If I hear that tink, I made a mistake. Okay, there's a stop right there. All right, so we've got that branch built up pretty good. And bear in mind, when we get this glass going on this other side, we would build that branch up over there. That'll be a little bit because I've got to come in here. The first thing I'm going to do I just realized we're going to be building the bird here too. So I think what I would do first here is come along here and build all this remaining trunk work here. Do I have a piece of that so you can see it? Yeah, let's look at that real quick. This is a trunk glass right here. Right there. And then this part of it over here is the glass or the stem glass going to the flowers. Here I am working. I'm going to work this stuff here to get the bird. That ruby-throated bird with some green. That's some really nice glass. All right, and then this, of course, is our trellis glass that we're working with. And then back here is our glass that we're using for the leaves. And then over here, let's pull this out while we're talking here. And this are my flowers. Okay, so that's where we are. Let's see, what do we do? Oh, yeah, we got to get this one. So let's go back. We're going to texture this thing, then we'll be done. I want to be kind of careful here. I don't want to run a bunch of solder into here because that's just going to create more problems when I try to fit that piece of glass. So you just want to, right there. Okay, there you go. All right. So now let's texture this thing. And that couldn't get any easier. You're just doing it like, let me start. This iron is good and hot. Once this thing starts putting little pop marks, there you go. Now, it might not look so great here, but when you get that patina on there, this thing starts to look like bark on a little branch. Here you'll be able to see it a little bit better right here. There, it's starting to look pretty good now. There you go. See that all roughed up looking? Oh man, check that out. Now somebody asked me about patina. So see how our vine is coming out of the cluster of trunk glass, coming across, headed over to that flower. And then we're coming here, going to go under the trellis, back around right over to here. Back under the trellis over to there. So there's kind of a method to the madness there. All right, so there you have it. And I thought I had that. In fact, I thought I had that in a video when I did this. But I looked and I couldn't find it. So, you know, there it is. And we've got the video of that. We've got a video made of how we keep these straight. And here's what you're looking for. You've got to have that line across there straight. And man, I'm telling you, I see that off on some panels, and not good. Okay, let's just take this up because we're done with that. And see, now, here's today's, I wish it was I'll never get all that done today. But here we are today. This is going to really slow down right here. And I'll be using the ring saw here because got the ring saw set up. The ring saw broke down on me yesterday. I had to do some work on it. But it's a mechanical machine, right, with a lot of moving parts underneath what you see here. And see, I had some bearings in a wheel up here that went bad. But these are bearings. These bearings, you have to put new wheels in here. This is a Taurus 3. Real good tip for you. Change that water pretty often. In fact, I'll change that water today. I change the water every day. If you're using it a lot, change it more often. Because that water picks up the ground up glass, which is an abrasive, and then that ruins all your there's bearings inside these little wheels right here. And you have to change those out. Those are expensive. These little wheels here are $2, $3, $4 a piece. And so that's a guide for that saw blade to run down through there. All of this stuff is expensive. These saw blades are expensive. I did find them on eBay yesterday, reasonably inexpensive. However, they're coming from another country. Maybe not so good. I don't know. We're going to find out. But you can spend some money on just the accessories that try to keep this thing running. And these machines have really gotten expensive now. I swear I saw the wholesale price on these over $500. But what it's going to do for me, there's no part of this glass that I wouldn't rather just cut with a glass cutter. But I've got to pick out just certain colors here and certain pieces in certain areas all over this whole bird. And so if I'm going to use a glass cutter up here to cut all that out, I've got this sheet all whacked into 14 pieces. And I don't want to lose a lot of this glass because there's more than one hummingbird in here. So what I'll do is I'll take the pattern, lay it on this particular section of this glass. Wish I could get this out of the way. There we go. I'll lay it on this section of glass and then take that ring saw and just dissect that piece out of there and try to save as much of the glass surrounding the piece I'm cutting out. So that's what the ring saw is about for me. And on some occasions, the ring saw will make a cut for you that you can't make. Now, so far the ring saw, I only used the ring saw on cutting these pieces out here because I wanted to dissect them out of this section of this sheet, and I'm looking for that grain of that color to run a certain way on the flower petal, right? That way, there. So I laid out the pattern on here and then went in there and cut it out. So now the next flower, which is here, I'll be able to mark it. Let's mark it right now. Oh, what did I do there? There you go. So there's the grain running that way, this way, and this way on that flower. So when I make that pattern, I'll lay that out so that I get that grain to run the right direction on this glass. And how many is that? 5? So there's 5 pieces there, so I probably strategically place them on this sheet to try to save as much of this glass as possible. Cut that out with a ring saw and then come back to the grinder and grind it back to the size I need. Come in here and set those in. This would be the only time in this whole panel, more or less, that I've cut in advance, because I normally am just cutting one piece at a time to make it fit. So there's that. Well, that's all I can think of that we covered the saw. There's always questions on the saw. This is we're building this thing with zinc, right? 1/4 inch zinc, 1/2 inch U-channel zinc here. Oh, the patina. Somebody said, oh, are you going to patina this? Yeah, I patina everything. That's just me. And this will be black patina. I would, if this were just going to be a panel, not in a door, then I probably would have done this whole thing in copper. All of it, because I like the way copper looks, and particularly with this floral fauna stuff. However, because we've gone to zinc, copper patina will have no effect on the zinc. In fact, well, it does. It turns it black. So that would be real strange here, because if I put copper patina on this, then all of the zinc is going to be super black, and then all the interior solder work, everything soldered, would be copper. That might be pretty cool looking steampunk, but this thing doesn't lend itself to the steampunk vibe. So there's where we are with that. So it'll go all black patina, which is going to be nice looking. It's not going to be a problem. But it's much easier. Well, you're just not going to copper patina the zinc. The only way you could copper patina the zinc would be to tin the zinc. In other words, flood it with copper, or solder rather, and then you could copper patina that. So I would have to take all this zinc, lay a thin layer of solder on top of that, and then copper patina the thing, which not so sure that would be, look that great. So anyway, that's where we are. Well, if you have any more questions, be sure and ask me, and that's what generates these videos. I wouldn't be doing, I swear, I think I've done a video every day. I wouldn't be doing quite that many. I just keep working. But I'm trying to answer the questions that people have about this particular piece. And this is a good piece to pick up some information on, because it's got so many different things going on inside of it that the normal stained glass window doesn't have, and the normal person is not necessarily going to work with all of these materials at one time, and particularly two different foils. There are people that have mentioned to me that they thought you could only use one size of foil in the window. That's not true. Use whatever size foil it takes to get the job done. Now, when we get down into here on the bird, we may well, most likely, we'll go down to 3/16 foil on the bird, because I want that color of that bird to be real pronounced, and I don't want a bunch of heavy solder lines all around the bird. I don't really like heavy solder lines on anything that's copper foil. So if you'll look here, even the leaves and stuff, we've taken everything down to where we have relatively thin lines, and there's no worry about the strength of this particular window. This thing is going to be like a board. So we're good with that. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have. If you have any more questions, be sure and ask me. Thank you so much.